Look, everyone has a price, but right now, silver isn't just about the dollar amount. It's early 2026, and the market feels different than it did last year. I get asked every single day if I'm finally ready to cash out. The short answer is no. The long answer is a bit more complicated. I've watched the spot price tick up and down for a long time. I've seen the premiums on American Eagles go through the roof. I've seen the local coin shops run completely dry. Yet my stack is still sitting exactly where it was. Why? Because the specific conditions I'm waiting for haven't hit yet. You might think I'm waiting for $50 silver, or maybe even $100. But it's not just about a round number on a chart. Honestly, the price is almost secondary at this point. I'm looking for a shift in the underlying mechanics of the economy. We've heard the same warnings for years, right? Inflation is supposedly under control, but your grocery bill says otherwise. The national debt is a number so high it doesn't even feel real anymore. I'm looking at the gold to silver ratio. Historically, that's where the real story is hidden. Right now, silver is still incredibly undervalued compared to gold. Until that gap closes significantly, selling feels like a mistake. Think about how much silver is actually used in industry. It's in your phone, your car, and every solar panel being installed today. We are consuming it faster than we can pull it out of the ground. Do you ever wonder where all that metal is going to come from? The supply side is tightening and the mines can't just flip a switch to produce more. I want to see what happens when the industrial users get desperate. That's when the price discovery really starts. We haven't seen true price discovery in decades. Paper silver and physical silver are two very different things. I'm waiting for the moment the paper market loses its grip. When you can't find a physical ounce for anything close to the spot price, things get interesting. Have you checked the availability at your local dealer lately? Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's a 3-week wait. That inconsistency is a massive red flag. I'm also watching the central banks. They've been hoarding gold at record levels for a reason. They know something about the future of the currency that they aren't telling us. Silver usually follows gold, but it moves much faster once it starts. It's like a coiled spring. I'm not interested in trading my hard assets for a currency that loses value every day, unless I can trade that silver for something of equal or greater utility. Maybe that's land. Maybe it's a different type of investment that's been crushed by high interest rates. But right now, holding the metal feels like the safest play. It's about patience and ignoring the daily noise. I'm waiting for a very specific set of events to unfold. So, what exactly am I looking for in the news? It starts with the banking sector. We saw those cracks back in 2023, and they never really went away. They just patched them up with more debt. I'm waiting for the moment the public realizes the safety net is gone. When people lose faith in the digital digits in their bank accounts, they look for something heavy. Silver is the most affordable way for the average person to protect themselves. It's the poor man's gold, but that's actually its greatest strength. There are millions more people who can buy an ounce of silver than an ounce of gold. That massive buyer base is a powerful force when things get shaky. I'm also keeping a close eye on the energy sector. Mining silver takes a massive amount of diesel and electricity. If energy prices spike again, the cost to get silver out of the earth goes up. The miners won't sell it at a loss forever. They'll start holding back supply, just like I am. Have you ever looked at the inventory levels on the big exchanges? They've been trending lower for a long time now. If those vaults ever truly run dry, the price won't just move, it will leap. I want to see the out-of-stock banners stay up for months, not days. That's a sign of a true supply squeeze. Another thing I'm waiting for is a shift in the housing market. Right now, real estate in many parts of the US and Canada is still priced to the moon. I'm not selling my silver to buy a house at the top of a bubble. I'm waiting for the ratio of silver to real estate to balance out. Imagine being able to buy a family home for a few tubes of silver coins. It sounds crazy, but it has happened in other countries during currency resets. I'm playing the long game here. I don't care about the 20-cent moves on a Tuesday afternoon. I care about the generational shift in how we value money. Do you feel like your dollars are buying less every time you go out? That's the hidden tax that silver protects you from. I'm waiting for the general public to start talking about silver at the dinner table. Usually, by the time your neighbor's buying it, the move is almost over. But we aren't even close to that level of mainstream FOMO yet. Most people still don't even know what a silver round is. They think silver is just for jewelry or silverware. I'm waiting for the realization that it's an essential monetary asset. I also want to see what happens with the new digital currency pilots. The government is pushing hard for more control over how we spend. Physical silver is one of the few ways to stay outside of that system. It's private, it's portable, and it has no counterparty risk. That privacy is going to become a lot more valuable very soon. I'm holding until the exit strategy makes sense. Right now, there isn't a better place for my wealth to sit. So I wait. I keep my stack tucked away and I keep watching the data. Does that make me a hoarder or just someone who's prepared? I think the next few months will answer that question. Let's talk about the specific price targets that actually matter. Let's get real about the numbers for a second. We just saw silver scream past $80 an ounce. In late January, it even touched that legendary $100 mark. For many people, that was the signal to sell everything. But did you notice how fast the market pulled back right after? One day it's at triple digits, and the next it's down 26%. That kind of volatility scares away the weak hands. But to me, it's just a sign that the paper market is struggling to keep up. The experts are calling for a massive supply deficit again this year. We're looking at the 6th year in a row where we use more than we mine. Think about that for a moment. How long can a market run on empty before something breaks? China just tightened its export licenses for silver this year. They want to keep the metal for their own solar and EV production. When the world's biggest refiner stops sharing, the rest of us feel the squeeze. I'm waiting for the moment when industrial giants can't find the silver they need. Imagine a major smartphone or car manufacturer halting production. Not because of a chip shortage, but because they ran out of silver paste. That's the kind of black swan event I'm watching for. Have you looked at the gold to silver ratio lately? It dipped toward 45 when silver spiked, then bounced back to 60. Historically, that ratio has even moved toward 15 or 20. If gold stays near $5,000, where does that leave silver? The math starts looking very interesting at that point. I'm not selling until that ratio hits a much more realistic level. Right now, silver is still the bargain of the century compared to gold. I'm also watching the central banks in Europe and the East. They aren't just buying gold anymore. Some are looking at silver as a strategic asset. When governments start nationalizing metal, you know the end game is near. I want to see silver become a headline on every major news network. I want to hear people talking about it at the grocery store. Until that mass mania hits, we are still in the early stages. And honestly, what would I even trade it for right now? The dollar is struggling and interest rates are all over the place. The stock market feels like it's held together by tape and high hopes. Physical silver in my hand is the only thing I truly trust. It's not just a trade, it's an insurance policy. You don't cancel your insurance policy just because the price of the house went up. You keep it because you know the storm is still coming. Look at the local coin shops. They're paying huge premiums to buy back metal. If they're that desperate to get it, why should I be in a hurry to give it up? I'm waiting for a very specific transition in the global currency system. Whether it's a new gold-backed trade unit or a digital reset, I want my silver. It gives me a seat at the table when the new rules are written. Are you feeling the pressure to sell because of the recent highs? Just remember why you started stacking in the first place. The reasons haven't changed, they've only grown stronger. So I'm holding my ground. I'm not selling until the true value is realized. There's another factor people rarely talk about. It's the sheer physical volume of silver compared to gold. Silver is bulky, heavy, and hard to move in large quantities. That's why most of the silver in the world is already gone. It's buried in landfills inside old electronics or locked in solar arrays. Recycling it is expensive and slow. I'm waiting for the day when recycling becomes the primary source of supply. When that happens, the cost of silver has to be high enough to justify the effort. We aren't there yet. Look at the premiums on junk silver. The old pre-1965 quarters and dimes, they used to be the cheapest way to buy, but now they carry a huge markup. Why? Because they aren't making any more of them. It's a finite supply of survival money. I'm holding my silver because it's the ultimate bartering tool. If the digital grid ever goes dark for a week, what are you going to use? A silver dime buys a bag of groceries when a credit card is just plastic. I'm waiting for that utility value to be recognized by the masses. Have you noticed how many more people are talking about de-dollarization lately? It's not just a conspiracy theory anymore. It's happening in real time. Countries are trading in their own currencies and ditching the greenback. When the dollar loses its status as the world's only reserve, everything reprices. Silver won't just go up, the currency it's measured in will go down. That's a distinction a lot of people miss. I'm not looking to get rich in dollars. I'm looking to maintain my purchasing power when the dollar fails. I'll sell when I can trade my silver for a productive asset that generates cash. Maybe that's a small business or a piece of farmland. But trading it back for paper money just to see the number in my bank account grow, that feels like a trap. I'm waiting for the moment the smart money starts panicking. You see it in the way hedge funds are positioning themselves lately. They're moving away from speculative tech and into hard commodities. Silver is usually the last one to the party, but it's the loudest guest. I'm also watching the mining strikes in South America. Political instability in Mexico and Peru is a huge deal for silver. Most of the world's supply comes from places that aren't exactly stable right now. One major mine shutdown could send the market into a frenzy. I want to see what happens when the COMEX can't deliver. There have been rumors of force majeure for a long time. If the exchange ever settles in cash instead of metal, it's game over. That's the moment the physical price disconnects from the screen price forever. I want to be holding the physical stuff when that bridge burns. Are you watching the delivery notices this month? The numbers are starting to look very lopsided. More people are demanding their metal instead of rolling over their contracts. That's a sign of zero confidence in the system. I'm not selling until the system itself is forced to change. Patience isn't just a virtue in this market, it's a requirement. I'm comfortable waiting as long as it takes. Are you? Look at the headlines from just this week. The Silver Institute just confirmed we are heading into our 6th year of supply deficits. The numbers for 2026 are looking even tighter than last year. We just saw silver hit that massive $100 psychological wall in January. The world went crazy for a minute, and then the market did what it always does. It pulled back hard, shaking out everyone who was just in it for a quick buck. But did you see where it settled? It didn't crash back to $20. It's finding a new floor in the 80s, and that is a huge structural shift. I'm not selling because the floor is still moving up. Industrial demand is actually softening slightly in solar, but don't let that fool you. The shift toward AI and high-end electronics is eating up every ounce saved by the solar engineers. They're trying to use less silver, but they can't replace it entirely. Nothing conducts electricity like silver does. I'm waiting for the moment the substitution narrative finally fails. The big banks like Bank of America are now putting out targets as high as $300. When the mainstream analysts start talking like that, you know the tide has turned. I'm also watching the mining situation in Mexico and Peru very closely. Resource nationalism is becoming the new normal in South America. Governments are demanding a bigger piece of the pie through higher royalties. Workers are striking because they see the record prices and want their share. One major supply disruption in Mexico could send the physical market into a tailspin. Have you checked the gold to silver ratio this morning? It collapsed toward 45 during the January spike, but it's back near 60 now. Historically, silver is still the cheaper sibling by a long shot. I'm waiting for that ratio to move into the 30s or even the 20s. That's when the real revaluation happens. I'm also keeping an eye on Project Vault. The US government is starting to treat silver like a national security asset. When the Department of Defense starts competing with you for coins, the game changes. I want to see how deep those government pockets really are. I am holding because I want to be on the same side as the people with the most information. If they're stockpiling, shouldn't you be doing the same? The volatility we're seeing right now is just the beginning. 5% moves in a single day are going to become the new normal. You have to have a stomach of steel to hold through this. But the fundamentals have never been this clear in my lifetime. The paper shorts are fighting for their lives right now. I'm waiting for the first major exchange to admit they don't have the metal. That's the event that changes everything. Once the trust is gone, the price is whatever the person holding the silver says it is. I want to be that person. So I'm not moved by a $20 dip or a $10 rally. I'm looking at the exit ramp, but I haven't reached it yet. There's still a lot of road left in this bull market. Are you prepared to wait for the real peak, or are you going to jump out at the first sign of a correction? I know where I'm standing. Look at what just happened in the last few weeks. The market hit a fever pitch in late January when silver touched $120. Then we saw one of the most violent pullbacks in history on Black Friday. Dropping 30% in a single day would break most people's resolve. But look at where we are today, in mid-February 2026. The price has stabilized above $80, and the panic sellers are gone. That flash crash actually cleaned out the speculative froth. What's left is a market built on a 6th consecutive year of supply deficits. The Silver Institute just confirmed that the gap between supply and demand isn't closing. Even with higher prices, the mines in Mexico and Canada can't just double production. It takes years to bring new capacity online, but industrial demand moves in months. I'm holding because the smart money is using this dip to buy more. Bank of America is still maintaining their target of over $300 for a reason. They see the gold to silver ratio heading toward a historic compression. If gold stays above $5,000, silver has a massive mountain still to climb. I'm waiting for the moment the ratio hits 30-1 or better. That's when the true revaluation of silver is complete. Are you watching the paper market closely? The COMEX inventories are at levels that should make every investor nervous. There are more promises to deliver silver than there is metal in the vaults. I am not selling until the people holding the paper contracts realize they can get the physical. That's the day the price isn't set by a computer screen in Chicago. It will be set by the person holding the real heavy metal. I'm also waiting to see the full impact of the new Federal Reserve leadership. The shift in monetary policy this year is creating a wave of currency uncertainty. When the public loses faith in the digits, they return to the dirt. Silver is the most accessible hard asset for the everyday person. I want to see the lines at the local coin shops wrap around the block again. That's the signal that the mania phase has finally arrived. We haven't reached that point yet. We're just in the volatile climb. I'm also keeping an eye on the strategic reserves being built by Eastern nations. They aren't just hoarding gold anymore. They're securing silver for their tech sectors. If silver is a national security asset for them, it's a survival asset for me. I'll consider selling when my silver can buy a debt-free life. Not just more paper dollars, but real property and productive businesses. I am looking for the peak of the cycle. where silver buys more than it ever has. Until those specific conditions align, my safe remains locked. This isn't about being stubborn, it's about being disciplined. The reasons I bought silver at $25 are even more true at $80. The world is noisier, the debt is higher, and the metal is scarcer. Why would I trade the ultimate hedge for the very currency it's protecting me from? I'm staying the course through the 2026 swings. I'm comfortable with the volatility because I know what I hold. Do you have a plan for the next leg up? Because when the next spike happens, it won't give you a second chance to get back in. I'm waiting for the big move. And honestly, I think we're closer than most people realize. I'm not selling yet. Are you?